Hello YouTube. I've noticed for a long time that perhaps these are ignorant people, however I strongly suspect these are dishonest people that lie about the Talmud. Now few people realize that the Talmud is a commentary on the first 5 books of the Bible known as the Torah. Also the Talmud is a series of discussions and debates, questions with challenges and replies and back and forth. And then posing these questions, playing devil's advocate, and then someone saying, well, what about this? And then someone says, well, the law says that. And then someone posing a question regarding a violation of the law, and then someone else challenging that, saying, no, the law says the following. And sometimes the Talmud actually doesn't provide an answer. Sometimes it doesn't provide a conclusion, but it explores the subject. Often the answer already exists within the Torah. So it exists within the laws of Moses or within the 10 Commandments. Let's have a look. The 10 Commandments says very clearly, you shall not steal. And here, you shall not lie. The reason I bring this up is as follows. Discussing thou shalt not steal, Rav Kahana raises a dilemma before Rav. If the robber left his heirs a stolen item that is used in relative privacy, such as a bed that he lies on or a table upon which he eats, rather than something as conspicuous as a large animal, what is the law, the halacha? Are the heirs obligated to return it to its owner? Rav said to him, give to a wise man, and he will yet be wiser. That is Proverbs 9:9. Meaning that from the fact that the heirs must return a cow and a donkey, if those were stolen, one can infer that they must also return a bed and a table. The conclusion of this particular section in Bava Kamma should lead us to think that the whole discussion of if a Jew finds something that belongs to a Gentile, he doesn't have to return it. Well, this is contradicted here by the Talmud itself. So people are lying to you about what's in the Talmud. Now, let's look at what I want to discuss. We're going to look at a man called Owen Benjamin. You may have heard of him. According to Vox Day, he has an IQ of 17, and I may have forgotten a 0 somewhere there. But yes, if it is 17, then I'm inclined to believe Vox Day. With regards to that, let's look at what he has to say regarding Bava Kamma 113a, and apparently the idea that Jews may lie to circumvent or deceive a Gentile.
You think that they have to tell the truth? You have to understand that in the Talmud, the Jews say, let me quote it, Jews may use lies to circumvent a Gentile. That's in Bava Kamma 113a.
Okay, now that you've seen that, let me repeat. If you think that they have to tell you the truth, you have to understand that in the Talmud they say, let me quote it, Jews may use lies to circumvent a Gentile. That's in Bava Kamma 113a, which was said by Owen Benjamin. Let's go to Bava Kamma 113a, and let's actually have a look and see if he's correct. But before we do that, let's have a look. What does Bava Kamma mean? It says here, it is the first gate, the first of a series of 3 Talmudic tractates on the order of nezikin, or damages, that deal with civil matters such as damages and torts. Let's have a look at this Wikipedia entry. Bava Kamma is the first of a series of 3 Talmudic tractates that deal with civil matters such as damages and torts. The other 2 of these tractates are Bava Metzia and Bava Batra. Originally, all 3 formed a single tractate called Nezikin, each Bava meaning part or subdivision. Bava Kamma discusses various forms of damages and the compensation owed for them. It actually helps to know what these terms mean so you can then determine what is being discussed, because the Talmud is also a book of law. So now we've established that, let's have a look. Let's read from my notes here, and then we'll actually go to the Talmud itself and have a look at what the Talmud says. The Gemara answers, Rabbi Hanina bar Kahana said that Shmuel says, the Mishnah is discussing a customs collector who does not have a limitation placed by the governor on the amount he may collect, and he collects as he pleases. Alternatively, the sages of the school of Rabbi Yanai said, the Mishnah is discussing a customs collector who stands on his own, i.e., he was not appointed by the government, but on his own, and he forces people to give him money. They're discussing extortion and theft. Shall one lie to a customs collector or a tax collector who is himself extorting or stealing from you? I hope that makes this clear here. I am not sure why Owen Benjamin didn't take the time to read a little bit before and a little bit after. He didn't even finish a full sentence. Why would he take a piece of a sentence and present it as if it was the entire conclusion of the sentence? That's why I think his IQ must be 17 and I'm not missing a 0. The Gemara notes, and there are those who teach the statements of Rabbi Hanina bar Kahana and the sages of the school of Rabbi Yanai, with regards to this Mishnah, Nedarim 27b, one may vow before murderers, plunderers, and customs collectors in order to reinforce the claim that a certain item that is being commandeered is a gift, or that it belongs to the king's house, and thereby avoid its seizure. Again, they're discussing the unlawful theft of property and money. Despite the fact that it is not teruma, a gift, or that it does not belong to the king's house, it was asked, can it be that it is permitted to pronounce such a vow before customs collectors? But doesn't Shmuel say the law of the kingdom is the law? It should therefore be prohibited to state such a vow before the customs collectors. In other words, it should be prohibited to lie to a tax collector, because one has to follow the law, even if that particular servant of the law is dishonest. This is an example of the kind of back and forth discussion that happens continually within the Talmud. Rabbi Hanina bar Kahana said that Shmuel says the Mishnah in Nedarim issues its ruling with regard to a customs collector who does not have a limitation placed on the amount he may collect. In answer to this question, Rabbi Hanina bar Kahana said that Shmuel says the dispute is with regards to a customs collector who does not have a limitation. Alternatively, sages of the school of Rabbi Yanai said the dispute is with regards to a customs collector who is self-appointed. Again, I think because that was 15, that was passage 20, and we're moving on to 21, it emphasizes tax collector who is dishonest. And I think we're discussing an Owen Benjamin who is dishonest, and a number of commenters on Facebook and YouTube who are either very ignorant or dishonest. Ravi Ashi said, the Mishnah issues its ruling with regards to a Gentile customs collector whom one may deceive, as it is taught in a Baraita in the case of a Jew and a Gentile who approach the court for judgment in a legal dispute. If you can vindicate the Jew under Jewish law, vindicate him and say to the Gentile, this is our law. If he can be vindicated under Gentile law, vindicate him and say to the Gentile, this is your law. And if it is not possible to vindicate him under either system of law, one approaches the case circuitously. That means in a roundabout or indirect manner, seeking a justification to vindicate the Jew. This is the statement of Rabbi Yishmael. Now note, this is not the conclusion, this is not the ruling, this is not the ordinance, this is a statement. The Talmud often poses statements as questions or poses questions to problems, to legal issues, and it derives deeper meaning by discussing it in depth. So Rabbi Akiva, very senior rabbi, disagrees and says one does not approach the case circuitously in order to vindicate the Jew due to the sanctification of God's name, as God's name will be desecrated if the Jewish judge employs dishonest means. Thou shalt not lie. And if the Jew has to lie, he is desecrating the name of God. And thus, you are not allowed to lie. Thus, the Jewish judge is not allowed to employ dishonest means. Again, Owen Benjamin, IQ 17. I'm not sure why he didn't read a little bit further. I'm sure he had the time. Babylonian Talmud, let's have a look. This is the view of Rabbi Ishmael, but Rabbi Akiva said that we should not attempt to circumvent him on account of the sanctification of the name of God. Now, according to Rabbi Akiva, the whole reason is because of the sanctification of the name. But were there no infringement of the sanctification of the name, we could circumvent him. Is then the robbery of a heathen permissible? Has it not been taught that Rabbi Simeon stated that the following matter was expounded by Rabbi Akiva when he arrived from Ziphirin? Whence can we learn that the robbery of a heathen is forbidden? From the significant words, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. So again, they discussed that this is forbidden. I'm not going to go to the Talmud to have a look at this from the actual book itself, and we can see that A, there's a back and forth discussion, and B, ultimately the ruling is no, that would be dishonest and is not lawful. So now I'm on Sefaria.org. This is Bava Kamma 113a. You can type this into the search box and you'll come to this page. In terms of the deception of a Gentile, it was really in the case of a Jew and a Gentile who approached the court for judgment in a legal dispute. And it says at the end, one does not approach the case circuitously in order to vindicate the Jew due to the sanctification of God's name, as God's name will be desecrated if the Jewish judge employs dishonest means. The Gemara infers from this Baraita, and even according to Rabbi Akiva, the reason that the court does not employ trickery in order to vindicate the Jew is only because there is the consideration of the sanctification of God's name. Again, thou shalt not lie. Consequently, if there's no consideration of the sanctification of God's name, the court does approach the case circuitously. Apparently, it is permitted to deceive a Gentile. But then, in the very next paragraph, the Gemara challenges this assertion. But is robbery from a Gentile permitted? Isn't it taught? Rabbi Shimon said that Rabbi Akiva taught this matter when he came from Zephron. From where is it derived that it is prohibited to rob a Gentile? It is from the fact that the verse states with regard to a Jew has been sold as a slave to a Gentile. After he is sold, he may be redeemed. And it quotes Leviticus. The Talmud constantly will refer back to the Old Testament, indicating that one should not take a Hebrew slave by force, and thereby allow him to leave the Gentile's jurisdiction. Rather, the Jew must be freed by legal means. One might have thought that it is permitted to deceive him in order to free the Jew. Therefore the verse states, "And he shall reckon with him that bought him." In other words, the slave owner must be bargained with honestly and fairly by legal means. Again referring to Leviticus. In order to teach that one must be precise in the financial dealings with the purchase of a Hebrew slave, and one must pay him the appropriate sum without employing any form of deception. This indicates that it is prohibited to steal from a Gentile. Now, let us continue. The Talmud will then pose question and answer and opinions, not rulings, opinions. It now poses an opposite opinion. The Gemara answers that Rav Yosef said it is not difficult, as this ruling that permits the court to deceive a Gentile is issued with regards to a regular Gentile, whereas that verse which teaches that it is prohibited to deceive a Gentile is stated with regards to a Gentile who resides in Israel and observes the no-hide laws. Ah, wait, no beheading there, that's odd. But now, moving on, Abai said to Rav Yosef, how is it possible to differentiate between a Gentile and a Ger Toshav? Long story short, it goes on and it says, "He shall reckon with him that bought him," Leviticus 25:50. It is apparent that this reckoning applies equally to each of the above. That means a Gentile outside as well as one inside of Israel, including the Gentile. This contradicts Rav Yosef's answer. So again, honesty is upheld, and you can go through this and you'll find this back and forth discussion, because the Jewish lawyers are playing devil's advocate. What if, what if, what if? They're not making rulings, they're having a discussion, testing the law, seeing how the law applies, finding ways to improve upon their law and their rulings and their understanding of the law. But the law is clear. The law is the Old Testament, not the Talmud. Thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not lie. Owen Benjamin is lying to you. Maybe he's ignorant, but either way, he's repeating a lie that other people are repeating. So I hope this is helpful to you. Thank you very much for your time. Please like, share, subscribe. If you like what I do, please consider supporting. Links in the description below. Thank you very much.